Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our first webinar session, Next Stop HR Future. My name is Madeleine, and I'm very happy to be one of your moderators of our session today. Next to me, and literally next to me, is my colleague Luisa, and together we will take you with us into a world of AI and disruptive technology. No worries, for sure, we will stick to the safety distance of 1.5 meters today.
Thank you, Martin, for the introduction. And at that point, also a very warm welcome from my side to today's session. We already can see that we have a lot of participants dialed in. That's very good. So I would say, in case everybody of you has grabbed the beverage of their choice, it could either be a strong coffee or, due to the hot weather in Germany, a cold beer is also well deserved. We are then ready to start with the content. But just two quick remarks before we then really continue. First of all, we really need to inform you that this session is going to be recorded. And the second point is, in case any questions come up during the session, please feel free to approach them at any time directly in the chat functionality in our webinar here. And we promise we will have some time for that at the end of our session.
Before we introduce the future of HR to you, I would say it's much easier to first of all introduce our PwC team to you and the experts of our today's session, and give you some insights about our daily business. Our team is part of the HR consulting practice at PwC, and together with our head of HRIT, Alexander Pahl, you will also hear him in some minutes, we are handling with digital HR topics such as cloud implementation projects like SuccessFactors, or you might also heard from Workday. But that is not all. Besides that, we are always looking to the right and to the left to find out more about interesting technologies in the area of HR. And exactly this is why we are now here in this webinar today. And this leads me also smoothly to our partner Eightfold, who is with us in the call. And what Eightfold is about, that you will find out during our today's session. So stay curious.
Okay, at that point, Madeleine, it's time to select the reverse here. Perfect, it's working. So from my point of view, people, but also organizations, journals, and ourselves at PwC, we talk a lot about buzzwords such as disruptive technology, the future of HR, and also artificial intelligence. But from my point of view, those are very broadly defined terms. So I'm getting curious to go more into detail into these topics. But even more important for me, the question, how do we get to the future of HR?
I think this question is not only important to you, Luisa, everybody wants to know it. So in the next upcoming 25 minutes, we want to give you the framework for our upcoming 4 deep dive sessions. And therefore, we would like to answer you 3 questions. Why, what, and how? Why do we need to transform to reach the future of HR? What do we want instead? And last but not least, how do we get there? I think the last question is the one everybody wants to know. So let's dive in and we will come to this soon.
First of all, let's focus on why we are talking about the future of HR. Nowadays, digitization basically affects everybody of us and doesn't stop at any point. So therefore, I think you already experienced it on your own, that this is related to several challenges. And this is not only related to challenges for individuals, but also for organizations. So probably when you take a few seconds, you will probably directly think of one or even more examples that come into your mind. And that's actually the reason why our HR consulting practice at PwC now supports since several years organizations of various industries and also nearly every size in order to tackle the future of HR and overcome these challenges together. You will see in a few seconds that we have important challenges that refer to basically all parts of the HR department. But now we will really focus on the topics of talent management and talent acquisition. at that point, I'm very happy to introduce our first speakers. And you could really say those are the old hands of the HRIT business. So welcome Alex and Jürgen to the call.
Thank you, Luisa. Alexander Paul speaking. I'm really the old dinosaur in the HRIT, but it doesn't mean that I'm not able to cover as well the new technologies. So, and I would like to talk about today about the lack of qualified candidates and as well about the adoption of new technologies. And for me, a very important point in lack of qualified candidates is that Luisa is very strong and our team in recruitment. So hence, how a recruitment process looks like right now. If we implement in SuccessFactors, Workday, or what Luisa mentioned in other solutions, if we implement it, we start for sure first with a position, we map a job to the position, give a proper job description, and after the job description, we hand over to a recruiter, for sure we hand over to sourcers, and then we start massively to look for people, either globally, we're struggling with languages, mostly we do it in the local language and or in English, and then with the sourcer, we try to find the guys either internally, externally, or as well on the contingent workforce. And how this is done, adoption of new technologies is in the old world, we do it with massive Excel. So we move around massive Excel sheets, sending around to the entire target population, etc. And then we might store them or not on a SharePoint. Hence, we can maybe reuse it, but if we reuse it after 3 months, it's very old. Why not using skills and doing a skill-based recruitment? And then, if you have automated learning, you can use as well what the system has learned and stored from many thousands and millions of other candidates, employees with the similar request, rather than doing a text search. And then we can start as well to look out due to the automated learning. Hey, we can use as well likely skills, what other has. We can look as well into, hey, what are our competitors are searching for? What could be major skills as well for the future? So, and that's as well stuff we need definitely to manage, where our client has definitely currently a lack related to skills, and get it proposed out of the system. The question is where it comes from. And that is where we say we have a bunch of billion of candidates, of internal CVs available. So, and that's where we can provide all of those informations and come up with very, very close and very accurate recommendations. Back to you, Luisa.
Thanks a lot, Alex. I guess those are only some out of many challenges we're currently facing. So now looking virtually to Jürgen, when someone would ask me how to describe you the best, I would definitely say you are our learning and reskilling guru. What challenges do you see at our clients when it comes to these topics?
Thanks very much, Madeleine. This sounds quite nice. Thanks a lot. I can indeed give you an overview on that topic. You can also see it here on the bottom of the slide, because I've worked a lot with clients from various industries in the last years who always had one topic which was of particular importance for them, and this was the challenge of up and reskilling their workforce. I can maybe make this very specific by just using the example of a car, which was 20 years ago just a piece of some metal and fabric. And today, if you look on a modern car, it's more like a computer on 4 wheels, who mostly has more than 100 million lines of code. As you can imagine, the skills which were required in the year 2000 to build a car are mostly not the skills anymore which are required today. And of course, I agree, 20 years may sound like it's a long period, but still it's only about half of our working lives. So reskilling is something every one of us is already experiencing. I think what we are currently seeing is that the speed of change and also its level are dramatically increasing. In most industries, we do not only see that small evolutions are ongoing, but today these are really huge disruptive revolutions. And therefore, it's not enough anymore to just reinvent yourself 1 or 2 times in a career, but it's maybe 5 times, 10 times, or ideally in the future, probably even constantly. And this is exactly the situation from my perspective that we have to deal with when it comes to up and reskilling. And definitely we can't do this anymore in the traditional ways where an appropriate reskilling strategy often does not even exist at all, or in case it does, where it is coming from a time of linear and relatively slow changes, and therefore does not support the current dynamics as just explained. So for me, to master that reskilling game, it's really about being able to efficiently answering certain questions like who has which skills in the organization, or which skills will become important in the future, or who should be reskilled and to which extent, or which skills are my competitors currently focusing on, but maybe also a question like which skills will become irrelevant in the future. And just to be very clear here, I think that none of these questions can be answered by just maintaining an Excel spreadsheet, or at least not in an efficient way, but by using modern and intelligent software, which strongly supports you in the process and giving you the insights that you need. And that's also actually exactly the same, or the topic that I will speak about in our second session next week. But I hope for now that this answer was satisfying for you.
Definitely it is. Thanks a lot, Jürgen.
I would have a question to that, Jürgen. A lot of our clients are asking, guys, hey, if I'm reskilling now millennials, they have not a long retention in our company, or if I'm training and reskilling old guys like me, they might retire then soon. Is it not wasted money? And would it be not better to select first who to reskill and who to train rather than do it in a broader way? Jürgen?
Yeah. Now I see where you're coming from. Maybe if we focus on millennials first, this reminds me of the situation where the CFO goes to the CEO and asks what is the point of paying so much to train the employees if they are going to work for another company anyway. And then the CEO, obviously a smart one, says, what happens if we don't train them and they stay with us? So I think from a company perspective, it is a bit like if you stop exercising and stop following your healthy diet, just because you think it's not worth it if you're going to die eventually, also does not really make sense. And I think from an employee perspective, studies are actually showing that employees are even searching for companies that are willing to invest in them, and then on the other side, often also pay back these investments with their loyalty. So that would be my answer, Alex, on the millennials. On the older generation, as you called it, I think that's a nice example of what technology can do, because technology is often seen as non-human, what is also true, but it does not mean that you can't also bring in more humanity into a company based on technology. So if you see these eliminating bias point on the left side of the slide, for instance, with the support of technology, we can eliminate such bias, like related to gender, race, age, or even the color of the hair, you name it. And you can eliminate this bias then, for instance, in the recruiting or also in the promotion process. And I think in that way, technology can very nicely support you to not only make fair but also the best decisions, which then can even change the company and the culture, and maybe in a big picture, even the society. And for me, this feels very promising, to be honest, if I think about technology.
Thank you, Jürgen. I can only speak for myself, but being honest, I'm now super curious to get more insights on that in our next webinar next week, even if I'm not a reskilling and learning guru. So in case you on the call feel the same, please feel free to join our session next week. It will take place at the same day and the same time, and I will promise you, you will get interesting insights with Jürgen. But now let's come to our second question that we would like to answer in today's session, which is, what do we want to see instead in the future? So we already got some interesting insights from Jürgen and Alex about the current challenges. But now let's have a look into our virtual and magic crystal ball. So Madeleine, what do you think? What does our clients want to have in the future in order to tackle these challenges?
Yes, so actually, let me take all of you with me on a journey into the future. Please imagine what would be if, for example, as Jürgen previously said, I know already which exact skills are relevant for my company, and also I can compare these to my competitors. That would give me a huge advantage in the market.
What I'm also thinking a lot about is, what would be if recruiters can easily screen and find the best candidate for their open position? Because that's actually what we recognize at our clients. Let's assume you have a position where you have a huge amount of candidates, then pre-screening all those candidates, and then in addition to this, finding the perfect fit for your position is super time and cost intensive. Such a functionality would definitely increase both the efficiency and the effectiveness of our clients.
Good point. And also, when I remember my application at PwC, I know that I checked a lot of different job postings without really knowing which job fits to me. Imagine what would be if I can easily know which of the open positions fits best to me as an applicant and my current skill set without scrolling through the entire job description.
That's probably what we call a great candidate experience. But while talking with you, Madeleine, I now recognize that we talked a lot about what would be if.
You might think those are just dreams of the future. But here we go. Welcome to our webinar. But we can't achieve the future alone, and therefore we are really happy to have a great partner on our side. Around 6 months ago, we started our cooperation with Eightfold, who already started to tackle the future with their AI solution. Sounds interesting? After working with them together since several months, I can definitely say, yes, it is. But let them speak for themselves. A really warm welcome to Hope and Ashish to be our guests today. Hope, tell us, what is Eightfold about?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madeline and Louisa and the whole PwC team. Much like you, I've enjoyed our partnership over the last 6 months. So let's kick it off. So I start every single meeting this way. If you've already met me on a meeting, you've already heard this, but we are really a mission-driven company. So we are here to find the right career for everyone in the world, and not just the right career, but the right job at the right time. So how are we doing that? So we have created the Talent Intelligence Platform that leverages AI to transform how enterprises of all sizes are hiring, developing, and retaining a diverse workforce. Now, as we go through this session and as we go through the next 4 sessions, I want you to keep this thought in the back of your mind. Our 2 co-founders come from companies such as Google, Facebook, YouTube, IBM, among others. They collectively hold over 85 patents in machine learning, AI, and neural networks. If you search for something on Google this morning, I know I already have, you are using their algorithms. If you scroll through your Facebook newsfeed, you are using their algorithms. If you were recommended a YouTube video this morning, after the one you had selected finish, you are using their algorithms. These guys know search, calibration, and personalization better than anyone. They took their knowledge and they brought it to the talent space. So let's go over to Ashish to hear more about how they are applying that vast knowledge to the talent space.
Awesome. Thank you. And friends, a warm welcome to all of you, and thanks for joining the webinar today. Over the next few minutes, you will see how Eightfold has changed the experience that HR provides to employees, hiring managers, recruiters, and candidates. The world of HR has changed in the last few years, and now due to COVID, the change has only accelerated. Eightfold has developed a powerful self-learning neural network AI platform, which has analyzed over 1.5 billion profiles globally, which is pretty much the size of the global workforce. The auto-match feature of Eightfold bubbles up profiles from your ATS talent pool that would have gone undiscovered. Ask any recruiter if they have come across an instance where the company has paid an agency for a new hire whose CV was actually already parked somewhere in the company's ATS and in their database. Consider the next one, internal mobility, or IJP, as they say, internal job postings. It is a critical sourcing channel for companies in the sense that it shows career paths to people. It reduces attrition, reduces costs, and helps companies grow. You have worked in companies, and I'm sure you have tried using the intranet to find the relevant role for yourself. What you want is a friend who will keep looking for the relevant job that you aspire for 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, right? So you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder all the time on missing out on great opportunities. And that is what Eightfold does for you. It continuously scans for new job openings in the company and notifies you as soon as there is a match. Likewise for the referrals part. Employees would approach me in the past as head of talent acquisition in my company with CVs of their friends and cousins and would hope that being head of the TA function, I can do some magic and help them find a good role in the company. The power is now in the hands of employees. You drop the CV of your referral in the Eightfold system and the algorithm will give you relevant recommendations. Similarly for external candidates, they need not spend hours looking for jobs on companies' websites. Just drop the resume and see the algorithm recommend to you the best matches for most relevant roles. And likewise for LinkedIn, we have this plugin with which a recruiter can log on to LinkedIn and see the most relevant matches for all jobs in the company with any candidate profile that they touch. Moving on to the next piece of Career Planner, Eightfold understands over 1 million skills, the distance between skills, and has studied the career trajectories of over 1.5 billion people. Now, what if the algorithm could predict jobs which could be of interest to you for the future, show you skill gaps for each of the roles, and recommend training programs? You can actually start manufacturing your candidates for your future roles internally. And what is still left is the hands-on experience that the future role may require, correct? And that's what we fill up using our project marketplace. And that gap can be bridged too. Coming to the topic of diversity, which is the closest to my heart, people say that there is a bias in the hiring process, or at least there is a possibility of a bias in the hiring process. Our algorithm has the ability to mask any element that can give a hint about gender, race, etc. by masking the photo, name, email ID, LinkedIn ID, phone number, any pronouns like he or she, and instead the hiring manager will only get to see a profile of a candidate which has skills, qualifications, and experience as a showcase. And from then on, they must decide whether they want to interview or not. And then they share their feedback, with which it can be tracked and it can be published as a dashboard so people know what's happening in the hiring process. Now let's talk about the last piece on, and I think the most important for the leaders of talent acquisition, and especially in the current situation globally with COVID, when they're all sitting at their home, they would love to see a digital cockpit that shows them overall health of their hiring operation, SLAs of all hiring requisitions, and gives them the ability to drill down to each requisition and understand the situation at that level, like how many CVs are there in each stage of the hiring process, which sourcing channels have been used, how many CVs received from each channel, etc., etc. So any corrective action they could apply quite comfortably. I hope this has excited you to see the platform. And imagine my state of mind that as I've been using this platform for almost three years already as a former customer. And I promise you that there are so many powerful features and functionalities that we haven't even touched upon today. So just wait and watch, and we are so excited to welcome you on the next webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashish, and also thank you, Hope, for your introduction. I hope now, as you also said, everybody here in the call is now super excited to hear more about Eightfold. And I can tell you from my experience, it is totally worth it to hear more. So now, having a look on the time, I see our session is almost at the end, but we reserve some time for your questions. Therefore, first of all, we have a look into the chat. So also if somebody else has a question, just raise it. And I can see there is one question from Carlos, actually. He says, I saw that we can automate our processes in talent management. What other advantages can I get combining AI and talent management? And is this all working in real time? Alex, I think you're the right person to answer this.
So thank you for the question, Carlos. Yeah, I see, for example, what if we look into the talent management process of our client, and if we're looking for a very large client, like for example, like Conti with 240,000 employees, every one of them is asking, hey, are you mobile and are you willing to relocate if we have something available? So every employee needs 1 to 2 minutes out of the 240,000 to answer such a question. And it's always 1 year old if you, as a recruiter or hiring manager, if you're looking in. Why not let AI work for you and machine learning that you can see, hey, old guys like me with a house, with a dog, with kids, they are they have a high retention. They stay mostly in Germany. So that may be the guys who are not willing to relocate. But if we are young and not married, for example, so AI can definitely suggest immediately and in real time who would be potentially on an 80 to 90% level the guys who are willing to relocate. So you can save in that case. In our case, 480,000 minutes, just not asking such a question and let AI working for you. And that's how AI and machine learning can support you massively as in talent management and makes suggestions which are extremely close to the truth and what the guys are globally are doing. So, and if you want, you can split it as well down to countries, regions, whatever. So using the power of AI and machine learning will definitely support you and bring up a very positive business case.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Thanks a lot, Alex, for taking this question. And Carlos, we hope we got the right answer for you. I see some other questions, but due to the time, I pick one other, which is related to the future relevant skills. How is it working and how do we get the data from our competitors? And that smoothly leads me to the outlook of our next sessions. And I'm pretty sure here we can answer a lot of your questions you have already. And therefore, Luisa, tell us, what will come next?
Exactly. Thank you, Madeleine. The journey into the future of HR just started today, so we definitely have some exciting and interesting topics for you prepared in the next couple of weeks. Today, you got some high-level insights, but Jürgen already gave us a sneak preview what is expecting you next week. So in case you're interested in the entire topic around how to develop and redeploy your talents effectively, please feel free to join our session next week. But for sure, we will also cover the other topics that came out of our virtual crystal ball. So save the date for attracting talent and find the perfect fit for your position, but also for how to identify future relevant skills, basically what the other question was just about. And last but not least, how to get started in order to tackle the future of HR. So Madeleine, let's lastly summarize what we can expect from the next week.
Yes, next week you will get, again, interesting insights.
We will have some new experts for you.
You will receive real-life examples.
And we will definitely see some system deep dives from Eightfold.
And last but not least, you will get the same moderators. So we are really looking forward to also guide you through the next session. So there is not much left to say, but what is left to say is thank you. Thanks for your participation today, and we really hope that we can see you again next week.
As you can see, there is not much to prepare on your side. Just make sure that you will join the session next week, and don't forget to put the beer into the fridge. Thanks for joining today.
Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our second session of the webinar series, Next Stop HR Future. For all those who already joined our session last week, welcome back. We are happy to see you also in our session today. And for all, let's say, new joiners, you can now be excited. We will take you with us on our journey into the future of HR. My name is Luisa, and together with my colleague Madeleine, I do have the honor to moderate and guide you through today's session. But before I will introduce our other speakers for today's session, 2 quick remarks. Similar to last week, first of all, we need to inform you that this session is going to be recorded. And the second point is, in case any questions come up during the session, please feel free to approach them in our Q&A functionality. We know within the last session we had some technical issues, so therefore let me quickly explain to you how the Q&A functionality is working. At the right bottom, we do have that Q&A box, which gives you the possibility to send your messages directly to us as the moderators. We will then screen your questions during the session and try to answer the question at the appropriate point in our session. So that's it from an organizational point of view. Now I want to give you an idea who's speaking to you today in addition to Madeleine and myself. Some of our speakers you already remember from last session. Some of them are new. So therefore, a warm welcome back to Jürgen, who already gave you interesting insights about the challenges around the topics of learning and reskilling. With him, we also have Stefan invited, and a sneak preview. For all those who really like to listen to Stefan, this is not his only participation in our webinar series. Stay tuned for webinar number 4. But for sure, we also have speakers invited from our partner Eightfold. So therefore, a warm welcome to Maddie. Thanks for joining. And I think we are already curious and really looking forward to your system insights. At that point, enough from my side. I'm now happy to hand over to my moderation buddy. But Madeleine, first question, is it still coffee or already a beer?
Yeah, looking in front of me, actually it is a glass of wine. It's a glass of water, but I think I switched to a glass of wine after our webinars. So therefore, let's get started. For everybody who dialed in last week, this is what you already know. And for everybody who is new, first of all, a very warm welcome also from my side. And a short explanation, this is where we started our journey into the future of HR last week. In the first session, we gave you the framework for our upcoming deep dive sessions by focusing on 3 questions. So let me summarize quickly. First, why do we need to change? I guess that's pretty clear. So everybody of you directly thinks of 1 or even 2 challenges you're currently dealing with in your daily business, either because you cannot find qualified employees or because your processes still involve too much manual efforts. I think you get my point. So that leads me to the second question, what do we want instead? And this is where we want to start our session right now. Last week, we imagined the future by thinking about different what would be if scenarios. Together with you, we will start each session now by having a look on those scenarios and picking 1 or 2 of these points out of the 5. And then clarify the third question, which is how? How do we get to the future? Are you already guessing which point we're having a look today? Yes, you might be already right, as we have our reskilling and learning experts in the session. And therefore, we will have a deeper look on the topics of how can I utilize my resources flexibly depending on where their skills are most needed, and the reskilling topic of what would be if my employees can develop and reskill themselves in the best way. And therefore, now a very warm welcome to Jürgen and Stefan. It is really great to have you in the call. Jürgen, you are, let's say, for now, a really familiar voice to our participants. Last week, you gave us some interesting insights into the topic of reskilling, and now we are really curious to see what you prepared for us today. So the virtual stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Madeleine, and welcome also to session 2 from my side. Stefan will play an important role later in this session already, but especially in session 4 in 2 weeks, as it has been mentioned, when we speak about learning and development in more detail. But I will start today, and let's start right at the beginning. If you participated in the first session last week already, you remember that we also spoke about the topic of developing and reskilling employees. And now, in the first part of this session, I would like to dive deeper into the details together with you. To make sure that we are all on the same page, let me briefly summarize just what we learned last Thursday. We said, our world is in change, and it always has been, but the speed and disruptive power has increased. Therefore, what made you as a company successful yesterday is usually not what makes you successful today and won't make you successful in the future anymore. The same also applies for your employees and their skills needed, which are rapidly changing and therefore also require each company to have an efficient and effective skill management. That's what we said last week. Today, while we're coming to the highly important technology side of this topic in a bit when handing over to the Eightfold colleagues, we would like to briefly share some insights and cover some theory with you first. And by doing so, we will focus on 5 components which are all linked to each other. They are so important for us because according to our experience, you always need to consider all 5 of these at the same time, as well as their interplay, to be able to master the reskilling challenge. And the first and starting point is the reskilling itself. Most of the things that I have already mentioned in this session so far apply in particular on that point here, especially some questions, which I'm also happy to tell you now. And maybe you can just ask yourself in parallel if you already have a clear answer on them for your organization or maybe not yet. The first one would be who, on an employee level, has which skills in the organization? Which skills will become important in the future? Who should be reskilled and to which extent? Which skills are my competitors currently focusing on? Which skills will become maybe also irrelevant in the future? And to add an important one here, what happens if I do not get active on these topics or just underestimate the relevancy of them? So much for now on the point of reskilling. The second point I would like to cover is the environment. And to be honest, this is quite broadly meant because it summarizes all the external factors of influence. If there would be simply none, there would be probably also almost no need for reskilling, maybe just upskilling certain graduates. But instead, as we have already learned, the world is in change. Technology is changing, society is changing, employee needs are changing, the competitive landscape is changing, strategic company decisions are changing, and are and also should be, at the bottom line, the metronome of our up and reskilling activities. Therefore, I also strongly recommend here to carefully monitor all of these variables and constantly interpret their implications on your company, the workforce, and also their skills needed, which is one of the major strategic topics the leadership, not only in HR, of course, should have on the top of its agenda. Ideally, you do not only react on these trends, but you create trends and prepare your employees for the new strategic direction of the company. And to be able to do so, you need to closely monitor the changes in your organization's environment. The third point is about employees. And here again, multiple important questions are relevant to be considered, but the three most important ones start with who, when, and what. What focuses on the future role and the skills related to it or relevant for it in relation to the skills the employee currently has? Maybe in other words, this is about the gap between the current and future role, and in particular, the skills that are needed to fill these gaps. This question of what is also usually the crucial one and can be found by consequently cascading, starting from the changes in the environment, as mentioned, down to the strategic direction of the company, the product, and at the end, also the skill level that an employee needs to have to support the achievement of the strategic company goals or to produce a certain product. Next up is when. When is not only about the date and time, so when a new skill will be needed, but also about the transition period itself. Maybe there is a certain skill set which will be needed for a product A, but the employee in manufacturing is currently building product B. So how to get someone ready for product A production while currently producing product B day in and day out. Finally, we come to the question of who. And this is a diverse one again, because it is not only about if it is Joe or Judy who should be reskilled, but also a bit more strategic and also a bit more generic. If one of the current employees should be prepared for the future role, or if it's better to reskill or upskill someone external who maybe has a profile closer to the required one already. And who is also focusing on the question of whom can be trusted to make a major change, regardless of age or other factors, and who can only make a small change. Because whatever is clear here is that not everyone has to change to the same extent, and it's also true that not everyone can change to the same extent, and therefore maybe will not be able to make the transition into the new world, so to say. A second and last topic that I would like to cover under this umbrella of employee is retention. And especially employees from younger generations favor companies who are willing to invest in their employees, and most of it will pay it also back with their loyalty. Also, of course, if other certain circumstances are in line. Therefore, I believe that reskilling is an investment in employee retention itself, but of course, I also always recommend to consider retention programs alongside your up and reskilling investments. The next point is so important that we have dedicated an entire session to it. However, Stefan, who is our learning expert in the team, will already give you some first insights into learning, our point number 4, in the context of up and reskilling right now.
Thank you, Jürgen. And indeed, corporate learning management is key when it comes to reskilling initiatives. The starting point for each and every reskilling learning activity should be obviously the identified skill gaps, right? On which basis we are able to create these individual learning paths. Nevertheless, corporate learning management needs to adapt its strategy in order to contribute to successful workforce reskilling. From our experience, we can say that there are 3 main components that have to be rethought in the area of corporate learning, and that is learning technology, content management, and corporate learning structure and processes. So coming to learning technologies, most of our clients are using classic learning management systems. And these systems are very important to administer employees' learning activities. However, most of them are neither user-centric nor easily accessible for employees with no or only limited access to computers. So we have to ask ourselves, do we have the right technology in place to provide our employees with upskilling initiatives at the right time and the right place? And this brings me to my second point, that is content management. Jürgen, I like your picture of the metronome that is ticking faster and faster. and corporate learning needs to find a way to keep up with the speed. And besides being very cost-intense, classroom trainings are taking some time to organize and are mainly detached from daily work life. And SCORM and AICC e-learning content take weeks or even months to create, and most of our clients are dependent from external agencies. So also here, we have to ask ourselves, what is the best fitting content format for our reskilling initiative? And last but not least, in a constantly changing world, how fast should we be able to adapt our reskilling learning path and create reskilling initiatives? And this is where my third point is coming from, corporate learning structures and processes, which plays a key role here. And learning needs arise where the actual skill is needed and not in the corporate learning departments. However, we are experiencing that it takes, in most cases, too much time until companies are able to react on the needs with proper learning initiatives. But as Jürgen, as you already said, in 2 weeks we'll have another breathtaking webcast where we'll go into the topics in more detail. So for now, back to you, Jürgen.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I've already blocked session 4 in my calendar. Then finally, we come to the point of technology. And it is a point that I would like to keep a bit shorter from our side, not because it is less relevant, it definitely is, but because this will be covered by our Eightfold colleagues in much more detail in this and also the upcoming sessions. Therefore, let me just tell you that technology, according to our understanding, is covering the tools that support you in tracking the skills your employees have or identify future relevant skills and compare the currently existing one against it, or just to manage your up and reskilling activities in general. Therefore, these tools support you in executing your strategy, and they really need to be powerful. You can have clarity on all of the points mentioned so far and exactly know where you are and where you want to go. But if your tools are not suitable, and just as an example, you want to go from Europe to Australia and are having just a rowing boat, then chances that you fail are quite high. Therefore, technology is crucial, just like the other points. And this is also the reason why everything is connected to everything. The Eightfold colleagues will tell you now much more about what and also how it can be done with the support of technology. But before we are handing over, Madeleine and Luisa, I think we have time for maybe one question from the audience in between. Do you see something interesting in the chat?
Yes, Jürgen, we do have one question that fits perfectly to the content we just discussed. So one of our participants asked if it is true that reskilling is more important for blue-collar employees than for white-collar employees.
Okay. I wouldn't say it's more important, but usually when we're speaking about higher complexity, it's indeed true that this is often seen in the blue-collar area, especially when we see the typical German, European industries, which are heavily technology-driven and have quite often very complex products. Then in blue-collar areas, there are often 10,000 or sometimes even 100,000 of skills relevant, which we usually don't see in that same complexity in white-collar areas. So therefore, I would agree, it's maybe not more important in that sense, but a lot of the complexity, as explained, especially applies for blue-collar employees. That I would indeed say is true, correct.
Thank you, Jürgen. I think that answers the question perfectly. So now it's time to go to the next slide, where we can see that it's time to take the first step in our journey, which is the entire topic of redeployment. From my point of view, the importance of redeployment increased significantly within the last couple of weeks and also months, which was especially caused by all the circumstances related to Corona. Therefore, we are now curious how Eightfold ensures a high degree of flexibility for organizations in order to tackle these challenges in the times of Corona. Therefore, I would like to hand over to our Eightfold partner, and Maddie, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So, hi everyone, and a very warm welcome from my side as well. So I think to start with, we're looking here redeployment and redeployment and reskilling. They are very related concepts, and we have seen that organizations need to think about both together. As employees are reskilling themselves, they may be a better fit for a different role in the company, and that's a redeployment. As companies are thinking about the future, aligning with the future workforce, they may be better off finding employees who can be more effective in different roles. So they go hand in hand together. But one of the trends we are seeing lately, that the notion has really accelerated. The talent redeployment has really accelerated in the recent time, largely because of Corona. And we are seeing that there is not enough work in one function, but the other functions need staffing. Roles and skills were changing, and that has accelerated. The number of companies going through restructuring and reorganizing, and there is a significant cost implications of doing that, and effective redeployment can help bridge that cost. Now, as companies think about redeployment, there are a number of challenges that present themselves. As an employer, what we have seen that companies have limited visibility into skills and skills adjacencies of employees. And it's often very hard to gauge what an employee in one function can do in another function. So what we have seen that companies have hard time understanding if there is a finance employee and the role is not needed anymore, or role is changing, what that employee can do in other functions. It could be customer support, could be marketing operations, and so on. And sometimes it also becomes a very significant workload for HR team to carry out the talent redeployment on its own without having the right technology and tools. Now, on the other hand, employees also struggle with talent redeployment. They're unclear about the relevant jobs that can be open across the company. They don't have a consistent visibility. They also have limited understanding of skills that they have, how relevant that could be for the jobs, and also where the gaps are and what they can do next. And all of this is presented with the challenge of not having a consistent digital or technology experience to enable the redeployment. And so as we look at these challenges, what we have seen that there is an opportunity for solving these challenges holistically. And it really breaks down into two questions. The first question is redeployability of employees. And in some cases, you may have impacted employees where the jobs are not needed anymore, or the work has gone down. In some cases, you may want to do redeployment just to better align your workforce to right skills in the right roles. And so the first question is really around the strategy of redeployment, and that's the assessment of redeployability. And the second question is, what is the best way to execute redeployment? And what you're seeing here on this page, like, how do you think about the redeployability? And what Eightfold platform allows, it allows you to look at each individual employee, understand their skills, understand their experience, and all of that leads to understanding their potential. And what potential really means is what skills they can acquire, what skills they can learn, what are the next roles for each employees where they can be successful. And at the same time, you're also looking at the roles. These roles can be open positions in the current organization, the current company, or these could be the roles from the future. So the platform also allows you to deconstruct these roles and then connect the two to understand how does the matching look. Is matching each employee to a role, whether it's open today or in future. And that gives you a very good perspective of your employee base, who is ready for redeployment, who may require some upskilling or upskilling to be ready for redeployment. And there will be a population where there is a limited adjacencies to skills adjacencies, and that's your population for more reskilling. How do you fundamentally change their skills? Now, once you have done the assessment, how do you execute? And depending on the appetite and the bandwidth HR team has, there are 3 ways of executing on talent redeployment. The first is HR-led redeployment, where the HR team can log into Eightfold platform. They can define the role and see all the employees which are available against those roles. All of this is done based on skills and experience and potential. The second approach is you can deploy an internal job board, which is a personalized career site for employees, where employees can go and discover jobs based on their skills, based on their potential, and apply. And then the third option is talent marketplace, which is a more extensive approach of doing more sustained long-term strategic effort, where you are really creating a marketplace within your company where employees have visibility and access to opportunities, and the HR team or hiring manager or business leader can have visibility into the talent pool available, and they interact with each other in the context of open positions, opportunities, projects, and so on. Now we have talked about the concept, so I would like to show the system on how it's done. So first of all, if you think about how you think about skills, and I mentioned one struggle that we have seen that companies have faced, that what employee in one function can do in another function. And so I will start with showing the skills dashboard. How do you understand the skills of your workforce and understand the availability of talent around skills? So one of the things we have seen in the Corona impacted world, that a lot of marketing has moved to digital, and which was already a trend, but it has accelerated. So let's say I'm looking for more digital marketers in my organization, and I start here in the system. I go and I look at how many digital marketing talent do we have. And I go to this dashboard, which is configured for my enterprise, my organization. I can see people who have the skill. I can see that this skill is trending really fast in the global workforce. I can see the distribution of employees. I can see the distribution of employees in a global map where these people are located. I can see the employee skills, but most importantly, I can see which functions where the employees are located. So I can see that a lot of the digital marketing experts are in the technology function, or some are in sales and marketing, some are in professional services, and I have this visibility. And so it gives me a very good confidence that, hey, I'm looking for digital marketing, but I have a lot of talent in digital marketing. It's spread across the organization. So then what I do, I go to Eightfold platform and I start deconstructing the role. And what I have done here, I took the digital marketing manager, I defined the location, I defined the ideal candidates. These are employees who are really good at digital marketing. So I define them as ideal candidate. I can define certain skills and job titles, and this gives me a visibility into who are the employees available for this role to be redeployed. And I can see a stacked ranked list of employees with explanation on why they are a good match, how they are a good match, and so on. And I can contact them, I can employ them, and so on. So this is HR-led redeployment. Now, if you want to have a career site for employees to go and explore positions, you can do that by creating this experience where it's a very different experience of applying for a job. I can go and find job by uploading my resume. So I don't have to search anymore. I just upload my resume, I agree to data privacy agreement, and I see roles that I match to across the company. And this is a great way of understanding where do I have a fit and the skills relevant for a job. The other aspect that I mentioned was the talent marketplace. I can go and give each employee access to the platform where they can create their profile and then immediately see relevant jobs for me. So these are different ways of enabling talent redeployment through technology at a really high scale with using data, intelligence, and machine learning. So with that, I would see if there are any questions that I can answer.
Yes, so wait, Maddie, let me screen the chat functionality. One moment. Yeah, I can see one question. Sabine is asking, I heard also from the possibility to have a talent exchange program, which I think is based on the same logic. What do I need to get into this program and what is behind it?
Absolutely, it's a great question. So Talent Exchange is built on the same platform, same engine, and it connects workers, employees with open opportunities instantaneously. This program was designed as a response to the pandemic, and customers can get on the platform and be ready to hire or redeploy talent within a day. So this helps employers who have reduced work, or some of them had to furlough employees, and it helps companies who have to hire at a very high pace to meet the current business demand, and it connects the two, and it helps employees find the right role instantaneously.
Okay, that sounds quite interesting, and I think one day is really quick. Thanks a lot, Maddie, and also thanks for your insights. Quite interesting part of redeployment. I see we reached now the end of the 30 minutes, so let's summarize quickly what are the most important takeaways of our session today. So let's think of.
So the first aspect that we want to point out is that people development is not only a matter of reskilling, but also depends on other dimensions, such as having the right strategy in place, and that these strategies need to be combined with the right learning activities and also suitable technology.
Then second, having a look on the specific use cases of redeployment, which Maddie gave us, Eightfold provides the opportunity to identify where the skills of the employees are most needed and therefore also shift the workforce appropriately.
And the last point, based on the question that was previously asked, you as a company can easily register for the Talent Exchange Platform, especially as an organization, which means that you do not need to subscribe for the full software.
So we hope you enjoyed our session today, and we would be really happy to see you again next week when we talk about the topic, how to attract your talents. So for all the recruiting experts, you definitely need to dial in and see how Eightfold solves the topic of talent acquisition. And for all the non-recruiting gurus like I am, you will receive also interesting insights in how you can increase the talent experience in the application process. Therefore, thanks a lot, everybody, for spending the last 30 minutes with us. We're already looking forward to see you in our next session, the same time and the same virtual location. Therefore, thank you very much, take care, and we see each other next week. A new week and a new session of our webinar, Next Stop HR Future. Hello, everybody. My colleague Luisa and I are really happy to welcome you to our new session about the world of AI, and today with interesting insights about how to attract your talent. First of all, two quick remarks. Our session will be recorded, and second, we will reserve some time for your questions at the end. So please feel free to write your questions by using the Q&A functionality on the taskbar at the right side of your window. As always, we have a lot of awesome speakers in the call, and therefore welcome Thomas and Panayota. In recent years, they have carried out a number of talent acquisition projects and supported our clients in the implementation of new technologies in this area. But before I go here too much into detail, I would say let's wait 3 to 4 minutes and let them speak for themselves. Some more minutes we need to wait until we hear our experts from Eightfold. Welcome, Hope and Camelia. We are really excited to hear more about how AI can support us in the talent acquisition process. So now is definitely the time to hand over to my lovely colleague and partner in crime, Luisa. Luisa, together with Panayota, you are working a lot with our clients on their talent acquisition implementation tasks. So tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about our talent acquisition session today?
Yeah, thank you, Madeleine, for the introduction. And as usual at that point, also a very warm welcome from my side to today's session. But back to your question, I need to be very honest. I am super excited for today's session. And on a scale from 1 to 10, it is probably an 11. The reason for that is, as some of you might remember from the first session, within our HR consulting practice, I'm really focusing on the entire topic around talent acquisition. And therefore, I'm also super happy that we have two amazing speakers with us today who gathered over several years very detailed insights and experience in talent acquisition, and therefore also experience the challenge that organizations face when it comes to attracting talents effectively. As you hopefully remember from last time, we will now take you with us into the future of HR, and we will have a look into the virtual crystal ball. In general, there are several future scenarios we can think of across the entire HR department. But today, we want to focus on the interesting and innovative stuff that can be included in the talent acquisition process in order to make it more future-oriented, but also more competitive. From an overall perspective, we identified two very broadly defined topics that we now want to discuss more in detail. On the one hand, we recognize the need or the increasing need for an improved candidate experience. And on the other hand, we also want to have a look at all the functionalities that improve the recruiter experience and therefore also make your internal recruiting process more efficient and effective. So, Thomas, you are now, since a very long time, part of our HRIT practice at PwC. What are, from your point of view, the most important topics that you want to discuss when it comes to an amazing and very good candidate experience?
Hi. First of all, thank you, Madeleine and Luisa, for the nice introduction, and also a very warm welcome to all the participants from my side. As you said, I work now in the area of HRIT and also talent acquisition for around 10 years. And as most of you probably know, the talent acquisition market has also very much changed within the last 10 years. So what we see currently at the market, we are definitely in a candidate market. And what do I mean by that? So I'm also involved in a lot of internal recruiting activities at PwC. So, for example, doing interviews, assessment centers is also part of my daily work here. And the candidates which nowadays apply, for example, in our team, we recognize they usually have more than one offer. So it's not like in the past where we had hundreds of applicants for one open job requisition. It's the other way around. So candidates which are good and which we would like to have also in our teams, they usually have more offers than only ours, for example, from our competitors. So it becomes much more important to be also as a company to be attractive for our candidates. Being an attractive employer, having a good employer branding strategy in place, and also convincing candidates really to join, in our case, PwC, and show them the value add we can provide as a company is, from my point of view, very essential nowadays for a successful recruiting process. On the other hand, we also have the impact of digitalization. So what do I mean by this? People using their smartphones to look for job opportunities for open requisitions, and usually the candidates want to apply on interesting jobs easily, so they don't want to fill out big forms, they don't want to fill out complex forms anymore. They just see a job, and then within a couple of minutes they usually want to apply. So, but in most of the cases nowadays, it takes around 40 minutes or even more time to fill out such a complex and form and submit an online application. And also the quote, which is shown here, is saying exactly the same. So around 80% of candidates are typically dropping off during the talent acquisition and recruiting process due to complicated processes, a lot of time, effort, and yeah, that needs to be considered for of course, also modern recruiting. And we have, especially also here in Germany, we have really a lot of open job requisitions. Last week, I read a newspaper article which said that, for example, Deutsche Bahn, they have around 24K open job requisitions. REWE Group, for example, has around 25K open job requisitions. And also Amazon, they really now have a lot of positions to be filled, which shows, from my point of view, that of course, we have the candidate experience on the one hand, but also we need to consider an easy application, for example, for blue-collar workers, which must be taken off. And in general, we need a much better matching between profiles and job requisitions. And I think that's one area where AI, for example, can definitely help to implement a better skill-to-position mapping, and this increases, of course, also the candidate experience. If I just upload my CV, for example, at Deutsche Bahn, and from those 24K open job requisitions, I get the ones proposed, which match to and map to my skill set. Of course, this is a big improvement compared to what we see today in the market. So to sum it up, finding the right job and easy apply on that job are, from my perspective, key elements for a modern candidate experience. And with this overview, I would like also to hand over to Panayota to also give you some insights into the internal recruiter perspective.
Thanks, Thomas, and also a very warm welcome from my side. When we now switch to the internal recruiting view, the recruiters itself are one of our most important stakeholders. The Forbes magazine analyzed that the recruiter spends 13 hours per week sourcing candidates for one open position. That means a recruiter can recruit for 3.08 positions per week. Keeping the fact in mind that companies as Deutsche Bahn or REWE Group and many more have more than 100 or 1,000 posted positions, I would like to spend some minutes and talk about the effects of that statement for your recruiting. First of all, the speed. As Thomas explained, candidates get more than one job offer nowadays. Your recruiters might be too slow for the best fitting candidates. When you invite such candidates to the first interview, they already got offers and need to decide, and often cannot wait for your selection process. Softgarden analyzed that per average, candidates get a first feedback through their application after 25 days. How can you reduce this time effort and increase the speed? Most time-consuming and often frustrating task is the first screening of candidates. Even if your company has the luxury situation that you get hundreds of candidates to one position, you still might have the situation you do not find applicants with the needed skills, because those candidates did not find that job within your hundreds and thousands postings. So the technology needs to support the recruiters to first screen faster, and second, support the candidates to apply to the best fitting position based on experience and competencies. The second effect I would like to talk about is the focus. When a recruiter spends 13 hours per week sourcing candidates for one position, the recruiters are not able to focus on winning the candidates for your company. The requirements of the candidates to the future employer changed a lot. Candidates would like to identify themselves with the company, with the vision, with the strategy of the company, and more importantly, with the people and the team. As the recruiters are often the first personal contact of the candidate, It is more important than ever to convince the candidate that your company is the right one. Recruiters can do that by attention, by taking time for the candidate, and a lot of personal contact. Recruiters are only able to do that if they have time for it, by reducing of time-consuming administrative tasks such as first screening. And recruiters should only spend time in convincing the right candidate. That also shows us that the first screening is key and that technology should support the recruiters to be able to focus on the important tasks of the recruiting process. Talking about the important tasks in recruiting brings me to our next topic. The Forbes magazine tells us that 70% of the global workforce is comprised of passive candidates. Those candidates which would make a strong impact do not apply. We already heard from Thomas that the process feels too elaborate for them, and candidates are not able to find the right job in the pool of hundreds or thousands posted positions. The more important it is that your recruiters find proactively right candidates by active sourcing. According to the motto, do not find the job finds you. Key for active sourcing is the database and a structured way to set up talent pools. The system needs to support the recruiters also in that aspect. These 3 points, skills to position mapping from the candidate perspective, position to skill mapping, as well as active sourcing from the recruiter perspective, are the key aspects to find the perfect fit.
Thank you, Panayota, and also thanks, Thomas, for sharing your experience with us. I think it became pretty clear that it is important to keep an eye on both the candidate and the recruiter experience. So let's go straight to our partner Eightfold and to Hope and Camelia, and the question, what can Eightfold do to increase the candidate and the recruiter experience? Hope, I know that there is a lot going on with Eightfold, so tell us, what does Eightfold have to offer when it comes to talent acquisition?
Thank you so much, Madeline. Absolutely. We are so excited to jump into this topic. Before we get into the demonstration, I just want to highlight a couple points that are really important to keep in mind as we go through. So I start every talk I do the same way. Our core mission is to find the right career for everyone in the world. Everything you see from Eightfold is with that message in mind. We have a dynamic taxonomy of millions of skills, job titles, universities, school data, and more. One thing I want you to keep in mind throughout this demo and as you speak to us in the future is we have over 10 billion data point models and algorithms. Our 2 co-founders come from Google, Facebook, IBM, YouTube, and they led teams there. If you search for something on Google today, you use their algorithms. If you scroll through your Facebook newsfeed, you use their algorithms. So these guys are really, truly the best in search, personalization, and calibration, which brings us to our topic today. I want to also highlight that diversity is spread throughout our entire platform. So as you look through talent acquisition and talent experience, keep the diversity aspect in mind. Thank you so much, and over to Camelia.
Thank you, Hope, and everybody else for illustrating to us what the challenges are. And I want to start with the first challenge that Thomas has posted to us. And he was saying that for candidates, it is important to be speedy. It is important to be to have a usability that they identify with, and to have a simple process. So the issue with our typical career sites is that they do offer search options, geolocations, advanced capabilities of filtering through the available jobs. And as you see here on my platform, I have about 500 something open jobs. So instead of me going and trying to work out which jobs I should be applying for and reading through job descriptions, we can let the technology and the AI do that heavy lifting for me. So using this little option that says find the jobs and using the power of AI to match me to jobs that I'm actually a great fit for. Now, you could use that. However, a lot of our customers, prospects, would like a more conversational approach to that or other transactions. So here's a chatbot that we provide that helps the candidates in a conversational manner through that process. So here's Amy. By the way, she's very configurable of what she can help me with, and she's also multilingual. And for today, I just want her to help me find a position for myself. She's very happy to hear. She's asking me whether I look for something close to my location. I go, yes. And she says, hey, I have some openings. Why don't you upload your resume in order to get matched to those jobs? And this is what I do. I'm going to select my actual resume and upload it to the platform. Obviously, we're GDPR compliant, so agreeing to the terms of use and privacy policy is key. So here is the AI at work. I am being presented only to those jobs that I'm actually a great match for, and I'm being told why I'm being great match for these jobs. So here is, again, the job description, but I'm a strong match because I bring the experience that's required. I have the skills that match the position requirements. There's more job insights about the company that I'm about to apply for, some people working at that company. So instead of me going out and trying to find who else works there and, how do they feel about working at the company, here are some ambassadors, similar jobs that I might be interested in, content that I might be interested in, perks and benefits at that location. So everything I need to know, personalized to my role, to the role that I'm about to apply for, and to my profile. And when I'm ready to go and apply for this or multiple positions, I'm just going to scroll up a little bit faster here. We also have this job cart option to apply. I can go and apply in one click. So you'll see that the resume has already been parsed, deconstructed into the skills taxonomy that Hope was talking about. The information that the system already knows is displayed here. If there's anything that you need to ask the candidates prior to applying, that can be customary or compliance-based, you can do so, or you can have them simply apply in one click and submit their application. So it makes your candidates happy because they apply for jobs that they're actually great matches for, and it has a usable one-click process for them to apply. The dropout rate is very low, the conversion rate is very high, and it also makes your recruiters happy because the quality that they're getting is better. Let's take a look at how that looks from a recruiter perspective. And if I might go back to what Panayota has told us, it's about helping recruiters screen faster, helping them focus, and helping them, giving them back that time to engage with talent. So first of all, this is a classical view of the positions that I'm sourcing for as a recruiter. I can start my day, however, in this screening dashboard that helps me focus on the relevant resumes and relevant people for me. So for example, I can start by looking and screening the high matching candidates that have applied for my jobs. We see more and more diversity goals coming in. So I can start screening based on the diversity categories that I want to improve. However, I don't need to compromise. I can go by diversity category that I'm interested in and also use the matching score to make sure that I'm focusing on highly matching diverse candidates. So this is one way to look at the information across the jobs that I am hiring for, or go position by position. And here also, the AI will help me source from my talent pool. So let's look at this position that I am hiring for here and see how the AI can help me. So first of all, once the position has been synchronized from my ATS platform, it can be any ATS platform, I am presented with a list, and this list is stacked ranked of candidates from my talent pool that match my requirements. And you'll see that the AI is also telling me why they match my requirements. Now, depending on the scenario, I can start by looking at internal candidates, current employees, if I'm in a redeployment scenario, for example, to see who's able internally to do that job. I can use further intelligent filters such as the likeliness to respond. So we're looking through all of these leads and working out how do they develop, typically through their career trajectory, working out whether they are at that level of their career, where they might be interested in hearing from you. Also, I might not only be interested in people who are capable of doing the job, but in strong performers. So strong career growth in the past as an indicator for strong career going forward, high performance going forward. And if I look at one of these profiles, you will see that this is much more than the resume parsed. We are updating profiles on a regular basis with publicly available information. So these profiles are not static and stale. We are enriching them with information that we benchmark against the peer group. So for example, this person is a top 10 data scientist. What does that mean? It means that compared to other people in this role at this company, they develop much faster into a managerial role compared to their peer group. So, which makes them a strong performer. And also, we're validating skills based on the peer group. And you'll see here what the peer group means. If this is a skill that's required, 50 plus people have that within similar role at similar organizations. So we're pretty confident that this person has them too. And last but not least, a lot of more rich information around the person and their career trajectory. So they worked for this company. I might be interested, what is this company all about? And most importantly for me as a recruiter, I want to know what's the quality that I'm getting from that company. Have I ever hired anybody? And how many people applied? How many did I interview? How many did I finally hire? And when I'm ready to go, having all that information, getting back that time, I can get into contact with my candidates. I can start sharing the profile with relevant people, such as hiring managers. And if I do that, in order to eliminate bias completely from the process, I can do a mask sharing where anything that could lead back to the person's gender, age, ethnicity will be masked. So any feedback is based on their skills only. So this was my short overview over the two transactions, both candidate and recruiter. And with this, I'm passing back to Louisa.
Yeah, thank you, Camelia, for the interesting system demo. And I think we now got a better understanding of how Eightfold is answering with diverse functionalities in order to tackle the challenges within the talent acquisition process. We now do have the time to cover some of your questions. The first question that we can see here in the Q&A is related to the last part of the webinar, and therefore the Eightfold system demo. So the question is, during the system demo, I have seen the most likely skills on the candidate profile. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail? And I think, Camelia, that is a pretty good question for you. So maybe you can answer to that question.
Yes, Louisa, thank you for that, indeed, and a very nice observation, indeed. So the same way we validate skills against peer groups, so similar people at similar companies within similar roles, we also infer skills based on the same criteria. So other people at that company in similar roles have that skill. So we infer that the person also has them, which means that we're not punishing people for being bad resume writers, but we, based on learnings that we have on our platform, we give them the credit compared to their peer group. So that's the likely skills, meaning inferred from their peer group.
Great, thank you. And Madeleine, I think we do have the time to cover another question. Maybe you want to pick one.
Yes. Yeah, I spotted a quite important one. What is my benefit from a time perspective when using a tool like Eightfold for the talent acquisition process? I guess also this question is perfectly to address to Eightfold. Hope, can you help us with this? So
absolutely. Yes, and great question. So a couple customers that come top of mind. So first, AirAsia, right? They have over a 60% time saving since implementing Eightfold. And on top of that, they have increased their online applications by over 114%. You have companies like Hulu, recruiters are saving over 4 hours per day. There's no need for in-mail, and they're having over a 60% or over a 6 times rate of recruiter responses. Conagra, another one, over 35% faster time to hire. Faster time to hire means less time where somebody is not in that seat. So those are really great numbers and great question.
Yeah, and thank you also for the great answer, Hope. But now the time is really running, and also our third webinar is nearly over. Before we come to the end, Madeleine, for you as a non-talent acquisition expert, can you probably summarize for me, but also for our participants, what your key findings are out of today's session?
Yes, well, first I learned from Thomas and Panayota that the candidate experience becomes more and more important. And this is where the CV matching of Eightfold comes in. There is not much to do. I just need to upload my CV on the career page or chatting with Amy, I remember, and get easily proposals of job requisitions. So I think that's quite a really cool functionality. And on the other hand, besides the candidate experience, Eightfold also improves the internal talent acquisition process. So the recruiter experience means screening gets more efficiently and resources can be allocated better for other talent acquisition tasks. So such as, again, improving the candidate experience, for example.
From my point of view, a pretty good summary, and I hope also our participants agree with me. But now enough from a talent acquisition perspective. It is now time to close our webinar with a last call for action. So we have 2 more webinars to go with a lot of cool and innovative stuff that we really like to share with you. So therefore, we are already looking forward to your participation in our next webinar. As you know, it takes place next Thursday, same time, and definitely the same virtual location. Within that webinar, we will then cover the entire topic about talent development and also skills. So therefore, stay tuned, stay healthy, and thanks for joining today.
A very warm welcome to the actually 4th session of our webinars, Next Stop HR Future. As always, I have 2 quick points to mention before we directly dive in. And the first one is our session will be recorded. And second, we will reserve some time for your questions at the end. So please feel free to write your questions by using the Q&A functionality on the taskbar at the right side of your window. Also for the 4th session, we invited some awesome speakers. The first one is Stefan. He is not an unknown name as he already participated in our session 2 weeks ago, where he already teased a bit what we can expect from our webinar today. So Stefan, welcome. We are really happy to have you again in the call. Looking virtually to the other side, I would like to welcome also Hope and Tom from Eightfold. So Tom, we are really looking forward to hearing more about how Eightfold can match and identify relevant skills for my company. So now your task is to lean back and we start with the content. By having again a look into our virtual crystal ball to see what we will discuss today. And before we do so, I would like to wrap up, first of all, what we already discussed. So we talked about reskilling, and in this term, especially about redeployment. And last week, we discussed how important it is to keep an eye on the talent experience as well as on the internal talent acquisition process. So what is left to talk about is talk about skills. How can I identify future relevant skills in my company, and how can I develop skills? And here we are. Welcome to our session about people development. When we talk about people development, we first of all need to think about what. What needs to be developed before I can come to the how question? How can I develop? And I would like to start for sure with the first question, what needs to be developed? Which means I need to identify my current skill gap. And this is where Eightfold comes in, and our two speakers, Hope and Tom. So a very warm welcome to you both. Hope, we learned last week that Eightfold offers interesting functionalities in the area of talent acquisition. But what is about talent management? Does Eightfold give me the possibility to identify my current skill gap?
Madeline, I think Hope lost audio. Can you hear me though?
I can hear you, Tom. Yes.
So apologies for the technologies, but yes, Eightfold can look at a company's skills in total, and then we can also actually look at an individual skills as well. And we can use that to assess skills at a company level, or we can use that to assess skills at an individual level and develop learning paths. And again, as we're realizing now that, Eightfold started as a talent acquisition product, but the fastest growing part of our platform actually is talent management right now. And most of our companies, especially post-COVID, are going through some type of talent management transformation. Everyone is going from trying to recruit top talent to figuring out how to use best the talent they have. That's certainly the shift we're seeing right now.
Cool, that sounds quite interesting. So therefore, we're really happy to see now also how the system looks like. Can you give us there some insights, Tom?
Sure. Did you want to go to the next slide, or would you like me to jump right into the demo?
No, you can definitely also give us here an intro on.
So it's important to note here that Eightfold over the last 5 years has analyzed over 1.6 billion professional profiles. We have taught ourselves what skills mean, what titles mean. And as you learned in the last session, we were originally using that to help recruiters attract the best talent. But now we're using that to look inward on companies and giving companies talent insights, and again, actually creating employee profiles that are enriched and using that to both identify skill gaps, relevant career opportunities, potential career paths, letting people say, hey, what if I were to change and go from maybe coding to sales or something like that, and then actually deliver AI-guided learning paths as to what courses they could take to meet their career objectives. So Madeline, if you go to the next slide, I'll sort of tee up the demo here. What we're going to see today very quickly is we're just going to look at, first I'm going to show you how Eightfold actually does analyze skills. So let's start there. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. We can.
So as I said, Eightfold understands, over 1 million skills right automatically, and this is always growing. And I can look up something like planning. And based off of our generic skills taxonomy, I can see that the related skills to planning are budgeting and leadership and strategic planning. But I can also say, what is planning for like a financial institution? And again, this is based off of our analysis of 5 to 6 billion profiles and public data. And we now see that the planning for Capital One also has banking and social media and marketing in it. But if I change this and I look at what does planning mean for Ford Motor Company, then I can find out, that's going to have more things like Six Sigma and be more manufacturing related. I can also take this to a different level and I can look up something like a coding skill like Python. and I can actually find out what are the related skills to Python. And what we use this for is, let's say you're looking for 20 Python developers and you only have 15 on staff. We would look at the related skills and find people that knew C++ and Java and algorithms and Linux and Git, and assume that they could actually learn Python very quickly if they didn't already know that. But I can also take Python and compare that to a skill like Java, and I can see how the skills are working over time. All right, and I can actually see that Java stayed pretty steady, but Python is coming up and it's a more popular skill. I'm doing this generically looking at all of our data, but I can drill in and I can look at Python for your specific company after you become a customer. And now I can tell you, in your company, you have 1,700 profiles that have Python as a skill, your percentage of talent pool, the fact that it's going up inside your company, where the geo distribution of that is, and the key skills here. So again, we automatically understand, skills, and we can look inward at a company and see how, they are ranking on skills. But let's switch hats. Let's actually pretend that we're an employee, and I'm going to, sorry about that. I'm going to now see how I can look at my profile and I can search for jobs. So Madeline, I used you as an example here. I hope that's okay. The nice thing about this is we make it very easy for you to create a profile. We let you, we'll pull information from whatever your HR system is, but you can actually update that by giving us your LinkedIn profile and your resume and any other links that you would like to public data. It could be publications, social media. A lot of times we find that people actually update their external profiles more than their internal profiles. Eightfold is going to take all of that data and combine that into an enriched profile, just like we do for our candidates and applicants. And now that we have that enriched profile for you, your homepage actually delivers the internal jobs on the PwC website that you're a good match for. So we're saying that you'd be a great fit for this enterprise corporate manager, and we're going to look at your profile, and we're going to actually say you have 8 of the 9 skills for this position. And right from here, you could actually apply to that position. But Madeline, maybe you wanted to look at all of the jobs in your company, and maybe you wanted to search for jobs based off of certain skills in a class you're taking, or things that may be interesting. So maybe you want to move and you want to become a renewable energy consultant. You can click here, you can find out, well, as of right now, you don't have any of those skills, but maybe you do. Right from here, we allow you to update your skills, all right? And we'll tell you the positions about it, and then most importantly, we'll build you an AI-powered learning path to say, if this is really important to you, then these are the classes you should take. And we integrate with the company's LMS tool. In the demo here, we're showing Coursera, but we integrate with multiple LMS tools and even multiple LMS tools if you want to build, again, to build that course catalog. I can also look for mentors in my company, and the same sort of thing that maybe I'm looking for people that can help me with business strategy or management consulting. And again, people inside your company, PwC, would opt in to be mentors here. And there's all different ways that I can actually search and look through the data here. But finally, when I'm looking at my homepage of the jobs, I'm looking at positions that are immediately available inside your company. And maybe I want to think longer term to that. So one of the foundations of Eightfold is trying to predict what's next for everybody. We take our mission very seriously, and our mission is to find the right career for everyone in the world. So for every profile, whether you're an employee or an applicant, under the covers, we're actually predicting what your next 9 roles could be. And, we actually put a probability score on each one of these. And the idea here is this is sort of a choose your own adventure, where maybe you've always wanted to be corporate human resources. I can actually select that. I can pick out mentors that are inside your company. And then I can view the skill gaps. And now Eightfold will deliver, it will break out the skill gaps for you. Again, these are the courses that you could take to help, but these are also the current jobs that are open that could also help you along the way. So that's sort of a brief snapshot. Again, Madeline, again, we make it very easy to create a profile, update that profile. We'll integrate with your LMS tools and also your project management tools. And we're actually finding a lot of companies doing what they call a project marketplace. And internal projects are a great way to foster cross-collaboration and learn new skills as well. Once we have this skills profile for your employees, we make it easy to find new jobs or to go back to that career planner and look at different possibilities. And we find that this is a great way to engage employees. Tata Communications was one of the first companies to roll this out. They rose their amount of internal applicants by over 100%. And that actually helps keep your employees inside. So with that, Madeline, I'm happy to kind of turn this back over to you and we can keep going.
Thanks a lot, Tom. So great, interesting insights, I would say, and also quite interesting for me how to become maybe a renewable management consultant.
Thank you for letting me use you as an example. I appreciate that very much.
Yes, sure. Okay, so thanks a lot. Now we saw kind of on the left side what needs to be developed. So now we identified what is my current skill gap. And now it comes to the right side, which is having the clarify the question, how do I develop? And that's what we want to have a look now and for today. And here I'm happy that I do not need to answer this question to you, but having a learning expert on my side. And therefore, welcome, Stefan. I'm really happy to have you in the call. And I shoot the question now directly in your direction. So now having a look on how I can identify my skills and my skill gap, now I want to know how can I develop now my missing skills.
Thank you, Madeleine. I hope you can hear me. So this is actually probably a question that we will not answer in 7 minutes, so it's a very big one. But at least we have we brought some things we can think of and some questions we need to ask ourselves. So indeed, for now, that was step one. We identified our skill gaps with the help of Eightfold, but now the question is, how am I able to close these gaps? And when we are trying to answer the how question, we at PwC are focusing mainly on 3 components, and that is, first of all, learning technology. Second is content management, which is partially already answered also by Eightfold with his, thank you, Tom, very impressive learning path. And the third one is corporate learning structure and processes. And when we are analyzing and discussing learning technologies and strategies together with our clients, in most cases we are finding the following setups. Maybe our maybe you can relate to it. So we have one or multiple learning management systems, either as an isolated solution or as part of a holistic talent management system, providing SCORM e-learnings and or PDF files. And the systems are mainly administered by a centralized or decentralized academy. So this setup is crucial and important when it comes to learning activities, no doubt about it. But when having a look on upcoming skill challenges where we need to adapt quickly and need to ensure smooth development initiatives, we might need to rethink our learning and development strategy and especially the 3 components I just mentioned. So let's start probably with the first one, that was learning technology. A classic learning management system, how we know it, is very important when it comes to the administration of employees' learning activities. However, most of them are neither user-centric nor easily accessible for employees with no or only limited access to computers. So we have to ask ourselves, do we have the right technology in place to provide our employees with upskilling initiatives at the right time and the right place? And especially the right place is very, very important for us. And we observed a lot of LMS initiatives the last years. Most of them were providing the new Spotify of learning or the new Instagram of learning, to make learning more appealing, but the word learning management system, for instance, will also replaced by learning experience system. However, rethinking learning management should be not only, and this is the case with most systems, not only repainting the solutions we already know, so to say, but it should also include a new way of learning, a new way of accessing the system for everyone and everywhere, especially where the learning content is really needed. So in most cases, this is not only in front of the computers. But there are good news. For these kind of technologies, we don't even have to replace our current learning solutions, because in most cases they are very important. But there might be add-ons that are already on the market. So we also have a broad portfolio of different learning management technologies. So that's really the first part. The second part we are always focusing on is content management. And besides being very cost intense, classroom trainings are taking some time to organize and are mainly detached from daily work life. And SCORM and AICC content take weeks or even months to create. Most of our clients are dependent from external agencies. So also this is not optimal when it comes to future reskilling or upskilling challenges. And additionally, even when our learning management system is accessible with the mobile, most of the SCORM contents are not compatible. So the question is, what is the best fitting content format probably for our reskilling initiatives? And that is not new, but micro learnings and short learning nuggets are way more effective, definitely, when it comes to remembering and learning course content. And additionally, it makes sense to also combine content types such as plain text, quizzes, videos, or podcasts. And in our last session, we also learned that blue-collar workers are often ignored, even though they are building more than 80% of our workforce. And therefore, a mobile focus, also when it comes to reskilling management, is really crucial. So the last point, and then I'm done, Madeleine, is corporate learning structure and processes. And in a constantly changing world, how fast should we be able to adapt our reskilling learning paths and create reskilling initiatives? And this is where corporate learning structures and processes play a key role. In the last step, we would like to think briefly about the structures in case a new skill gap is not identified centrally but locally, and this is actually at our clients in the most cases the case. For example, by a supervisor, how long does it take to come up with a proper and, in best case, with a digital solution to close the gap? So what if a manager or if managers on plans of our clients, for instance, would be able to create content by themselves in order to accelerate this process and provide it to their employees? And how can we rethink our processes to ensure that we can react quickly as possible to our environment? So when asking all the questions ourselves, we should always consider that our colleagues are, in most cases, no passionate learners, and probably never will be. And in most industries, 80 to 90% of the workforce have no or only limited access. So this always needs to be considered, especially with regards to reskilling challenges on the job training, and learning in the flow is key and should always be considered when we talk about the three components: learning technology, content management, and corporate learning structure and processes. So that's it from my side. In a nutshell, I could talk days about these topics, but that's it for today.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Stefan. Maybe we get the chance then to also listen to you a complete day. I think it would also be interesting. But for now, I think I have now really an idea what is important when it comes to the topic of people development. And I think I got an idea how I can become a renewable management consultant. So, as already mentioned, we reserved some time for your questions, also now nearly at the end. So let me quickly check. Okay, actually, I do not see any questions today, but we do have some time. So therefore, maybe one other thing, Tom, I remember that, from Eightfold, that there is also not only the possibility that I can identify my skill gaps and also my relevant skills for my company, but I have also somehow the possibility to compare skills of different companies so that I really can see what kind of skills do my competitors have and what kind of skills do I have. So can you tell us a little bit more about that maybe?
Sure, Madeline. Can I share my screen again, please?
Sure.
There we go. So again, when someone becomes a customer of Eightfold, we ingest their data. We ingest their job requisitions, their employee data, all their applicant data, their past candidate data, and we learn a lot about that particular company. So when we do this for a company who's a customer, this data is very specific. But here, I can also look at the 1.5 billion profiles I studied, and I can do this at a public level. So I can say, what are the top companies for a certain skill, and I can find out, okay, if we're looking for Python, these are the large companies that have the most Python developers, the most resources. And I can find out top schools and things like that for as well. But I can also take this and I can compare the data. So again, when you're a customer of Eightfold, we'd be comparing your specific data to the public data that we have. And again, in this case here, you can see both Google and Facebook. You can see where Google has the advantages in engineering and where Facebook has the advantages. But we tend to break out skills in these areas: engineering, leadership, product design, sales. And the last one I can do is I can go back here and I can just look at the skill DNA, and I can look at a specific company here as well and say, for your engineering department, this is what we have. And then that skills profile I showed you before, I was actually, again, driving into a specific company and telling you who we have. So, Madeline, Eightfold has all this great, we understand skills inherently. We can look at your company and we can tell you where you have skills and where you're light at skills. But I think this is where a company like PwC really comes in. You can help customers how to best handle that data. Okay, we think the positions of the future are X and you'll need people with these skills. Let's use Eightfold to analyze your company and see if you have people with these skills. If not, let's work on training programs to take people who could learn them quickly, or do we truly need to bring in outside talent? So, Madeline, did I answer your question? And any comments or questions based on anything I just said there?
First of all, I'm completely satisfied. So I remember that there is this quite cool functionality, which is really interesting. And actually, yes, now we have one question regarding what you already said here. The question is this something which is linked to talent management, or is this functionality an analysis you're running? So when does this come when does it become relevant?
So if I'm looking at talent management inside my company, when is that relevant? I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think the question is more related, is this also when I implement Eightfold, do I have this functionality directly in, or is it an analysis and the customer will get then the data for it?
So the customer will get all of this and a specific analysis on their company based on enterprise data. Right now, what I'm showing you is based off of public data and the data we've consumed. But after you become a customer, we ingest your data. The data is specific to you, and only you see that. All right, so it's not anything that's used in any of our reports anywhere else, but only you see your skill analysis that's specific to you based off. So Eightfold can work off enterprise data and public data. When you become a customer, we mix both your enterprise data and public data so you get the best of both worlds. Cool. And we'll pull your enterprise data on candidates and applicants from your ATS, your applicant tracking system like SuccessFactors or Workday. We'll pull, or Greenhouse or Taleo. We'll pull your HR and your talent management demo from your HR systems, like again, SuccessFactors, Workday, PeopleSoft. So we pull enterprise data from both your ATS and your HRIS system to build a complete talent profile for you.
Cool. So I really hope that answers the question, but thanks a lot for this, for this intro also to this topic. And now we are nearly at the end, so therefore I would like just quickly to sum up what we learned from our today's session. First of all, I would say Eightfold provides a talent management tool by matching the current skill set of the employees and identifying future relevant skills which should be developed within my company. And on the other hand, so that's regarding the what question, if you remember, and now for the how, I would say to develop the people in my company, it is not only important having the right learning content as you might think of, but it is also, and here Stefan, please correct me if I not summarize it well, it's rather the right content embedded in the appropriate structure and transmitted through a learning supportive technology. Can I say it like this?
Couldn't summarize it.
Okay. So there is not much to say now at the end of our session, but what is definitely left is our last and really final session next week, where we want to talk with you about what kind of processes are relevant to transform when it comes to the challenges of the future. And on the other hand, for sure, we will show you how to get started. So we would be really happy if we get your attention also in our last session next week. So same time and same virtual location. And therefore, thank you everybody for dialing in. Stay healthy, stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
So 5 weeks ago, we started our webinar series with the focus on how AI can help us tackling the challenges in HR. And therefore, for the last time, a very warm welcome, everybody, to our final session of Next of HR Future. I guess you already know what comes next, so I have 2 quick remarks for you. First of all, the session will be recorded, and we are happy to answer your questions at the end of our session. As this is the final one, let me quickly explain to you what you can expect from today. So we will split our session in 2 parts, and here I also want to show you our speakers for today. For the first part, we will review our topics from the virtual crystal ball. I hope everybody knows what it is, by changing also our perspective and not delving deeply into each of the topics, but more looking what needs to be transformed on process side in order to increase the efficiency. And therefore, I would like to welcome Sebastian and Ashish, who will give us interesting insights into these topics.
Hello, everyone.
So before Alex will tell you how to get started with these transformations of HR, our Eightfold team will start the second part of the session by giving you a quick run through all the topics we also covered during the last week. And also they will show you your personal value add of the tool. So here I would like to welcome David and also again Ashish.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
So, but for now, as already mentioned, let's have last time a look to our virtual crystal ball. And when I do so, I see that we talked about, every topic here, which is on the screen. So let's summarize. What do we know? We know that AI can support my recruiters in their talent acquisition process, as well as on candidate side. We also know that for an efficient people development approach, I first need to identify my skill gaps before I can then start developing these skills. And I know that AI also helps me in identifying which skills are relevant for my company in the future. But what else needs to be considered when I now want to implement all these cool functionalities? That is a question I would like to address to Sebastian, who is leading the HR transformation team at PwC and consults our clients in their process transformation. Sebastian, first of all, welcome to our call, and please tell us what kind of transformational efforts, or maybe let's say better, potential from process perspective, do you see when it comes to the implementation of new technologies in the area of HR?
Yes, thanks very much for Madeleine. I'm really happy to be here. Trying to answer that question in the next couple of minutes, I have to say that from an HR transformation perspective, leveraging really the power of AI tools and technology like Eightfold, there's a little more to that than only technology. With our clients, we actually take a very integrated approach where we combine components on a structural level in the HR operating model we're designing and on a technological level. So in order to make the most out of technology, we think, or we even believe, that you need to look at your HR operating model, at your processes, as you were saying, Madeleine, and at your organizational structure. So there's many very incredible use cases you can get out of Eightfold. And in order to leverage the best candidate experience, to leverage the best sourcing processes, to be able to deliver the best talent acquisition capabilities and do a very good job in terms of staffing and placement, you need to get the basics of your HR function as a whole, right? As a whole on a global scale across your whole company. And a major lever from our perspective to achieve that is building an integrated operating model, a platform for recruitment. So in the past, we have seen a number of companies having smaller local recruitment activities distributed across all their entities. And what we think, in order to leverage Eightfold to the best of its abilities, we recommend a global recruitment center, which consolidates all activities that are connected to sourcing, recruitment, or staffing under one roof. Why exactly is that so important? Because we think when you want to use Eightfold, you really should have the ability, your HR function should have the ability to run a harmonized and global set of processes in the recruitment area. You should be able to govern all recruiting activities centrally under one roof, integrate these activities organizationally, and most importantly, you need to build a platform. And by that, I don't mean an HCM system. You need to build a platform, a hub, in which you have all the data that Eightfold operates with. So this hub or this platform, this global recruitment center will coordinate all your activities going on in recruiting, the interaction with your customers, with HR customers, and all the people working in recruiting. And you might be curious of how we could help you setting up such a platform. We have actually an approach in our HR transformation team, which is called Next Gen HR Operations. And this Next Gen HR Operations approach, which also applies to recruitment centers, consists of 5 steps. And these 5 steps help you to answer 5 essential questions in 5 dimensions. first of all, vision and strategy. So the question here is, what do you place your focus on of your recruitment center? Are you placing your focus on quality or efficiency, or are you taking a balanced approach? Second, the customer offering. What recruitment products, technology-enabled, Eightfold-enabled recruitment products do you actually offer? What is on shelf of your recruitment center, and how will your customers and your sourcers, your recruiters interact under the roof of the center? Third, structures and interactions. So what will your organizational layout look like? Are you going for a global network approach? Are you going for a one location setup? Or are you considering different organizational setups under this one recruitment center roof? Four, people and capabilities. Do you actually have the right people in your recruitment and HR department who are capable of actually utilizing the potential that Eightfold brings? Are they capable of running these tools? So these are very important questions in order to deliver a great experience to your HR customers and to your applicants, for example. And five, of course, technology and infrastructure. What is your IT layout going to look like? Where actually are you managing the data that Eightfold, for example, is operating with? So these are all questions that you need to consider when it comes to setting up a recruitment center under which you consolidate all your global recruitment activities. And if these questions seem relevant to you, we are of course happy to discuss those further. Yeah, handing over back to you, Madeleine, and then I think Ashish will go a little deeper into the matters and concrete use cases that can be leveraged on the basis of a structural transformation.
Yes, thank you very much, Sebastian. So I think it gets pretty clear that technology always goes hand in hand with process changes and also, as you said, with the appropriate target operating model. So thanks for these insights. And now I also do not want to lose too much words, but directly want to hand over to Ashish, as you also mentioned. And therefore, Ashish, what kind of other transformational aspects do you see at your clients when implementing Eightfold, and what kind of use cases do you see here?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for those inputs. And friends, a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us here today. Eightfold has a vision statement of the right career for everyone in the world. Now, many of you have been with us for the past 4 weeks through webinars where we talked about how Eightfold can transform talent acquisition, talent management, career planning, sourcing, screening, scheduling, etc. Now, your transformation experience gets enhanced when we start getting a little bit deeper into the metrics in scenarios that were laid out by Sebastian a little while back. Now, the one major change that we would ask you to look at is we should start focusing on business outcomes, right? What does our business care for? And here is one example. Now, almost all organizations have time to hire as perhaps the most important metric for the talent acquisition function. I'm sure those of you who are from the TA function on this call, they will relate to what I'm saying. And organizations can even assign 30 to 40% weightage of a recruiter's performance to this one metric alone. We've been listening to feedback from business, that is the hiring managers. And what they say, and I quote, is like this, that TA teams are doing a great job, putting a fantastic amount of effort, but at times they seem to be hustling them through the process. What do they mean by this is that they seem to be caring more about their SLA and forgetting that the business manager's role is that of running the business, right? And the TA functions are there to support the hiring managers to get those people. Now, they say that time to hire is an internal metric for TA. And, they would not worry if we take about 7 or 10 days more to hire, but they want to hire the right person for the job. Now, this is becoming more and more, audible out there, and businesses want to be cared for in this fashion. Now, let's get a little bit deeper into other metrics that they care for. For example, Net Promoter Score, or CSAT, customer satisfaction, from our hiring managers and candidates. Now, what if hiring managers get a survey link at the end of each offer asking just one question? How would you recommend the services of your talent acquisition team to your colleagues, and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? We talk about giving a white gloved treatment to our business, and to my mind, it all boils down to this NPS score. And NPS scores of an order of 70 around are considered to be world class. So if you're already having this practice of NPS in your company and you're hitting those numbers, you can be extremely proud of what you have achieved. Next up, we talk about diversity, and perhaps now is the time like never before to enhance your organization and care for diversity in the form of ethnicity, gender, race, etc. So Eightfold helps identify diverse individuals and create options for recruiters to source them. And at the same time, the masking feature removes bias in the hiring process. Next point I would say is cost of hiring. Now, I'm sure this is a point which is extremely close to the hearts of every business leader today. And what does Eightfold do to help you transform this? Is by resurfacing profiles from your ATS talent pool, by helping you source through referrals and other cost-effective channels like internal mobility, etc., and use outreach campaigns. Eightfold can help you source through the Eightfold extension to directly map candidates from LinkedIn to directly into your database. Now, with these, definitely the cost of hiring will get benefited. SLA, the time to hire that I spoke to you about, will now have a much reduced weightage. What would have been like 30 to 40% earlier would perhaps be down to 10 or 15%. That's all. And lastly, I would say transformation through a talent network. Now, if you were to use all these sourcing channels and build a vast talent pool, so while you're creating shared service centers and you think of economizing, on cost over there, what if you also build a talent pool which earlier was about 200,000 and now has grown to about 1 million? Now, with that wealth of a database for your organization, you can really help improve cost, especially when you know that AI can bubble up and resurface candidates for you in a matter of half a second. With that, I would say that a transformation journey is really on the cards for all of us. Madeline?
Thanks a lot, Ashish, for these interesting insights and also driving this topic of transformation further with the use cases here. And I can also already teaser a bit that we will hear you again in some minutes. So therefore, we are now closing part one, so to say, of our session. Now coming to the second part. Then we are nearly at the end of our journey into the future. But before we reach our first stage destination, let's summarize how Eightfold can support you in your daily business. And who could explain this better than Eightfold itself? For everybody who did not participate on one of the sessions or is here for the first time, I am sure you will receive interesting information about this great tool by listening now carefully. And for all the oldies in the call, this is the opportunity to remind you of all the topics we went through the last week and to find out about your benefits. So therefore, David, welcome to our session. And I would say the stage is all yours. So what are the values of Eightfold in a nutshell?
Great. Thank you so much, Madeline. Hi, everyone. This is David Pectas. I'm the Value Consulting Director here at Eightfold. So today what I will do is I'll give you a brief overview of Value Consulting from an Eightfold perspective. And then I will also walk you through some sample slides from a business case we did with one of our customers. so that you can have a much more visual understanding of the kind of deliverables we create. So Value Consulting, essentially what we do is we provide complementary business consulting services to our existing as well as prospective customers to help them measure and optimize the economic and strategic value they can expect to see from Eightfold. We do that in a two-step process as we have laid out on the slide. On the left-hand side, as part of case step one, we call this the case for change. This is essentially where we engage with our prospective customers in order to build their business cases to justify their Eightfold investment. We do this through a discovery workshop setting where we understand their business and talent-related objectives as well as challenges, and then we come back to them as a first draft of their business case where we summarize our findings and also quantify the value that they can expect to see from their Eightfold investment. Now, the second thing we do is with our existing customers, typically 1 year after they've been live on the platform, we will go back and quantify the actual value they've gotten from Eightfold. So this is a very important step because this is where our customers get a chance to see the real value Eightfold has generated for their specific business. And it's also important for us as Value Consulting because when we create business cases in step one, we rely on a number of different assumptions, but the backbone of our business cases are built upon the actual value that customers realize. So this, in a nutshell, is Value Consulting, and I will now walk you through some of the sample slides from the business case. So what you see here is the summary of the challenges that we identified as part of the discovery, what that means from a business impact perspective in the midsection, and finally, how the Eightfold platform can solve those challenges. So if I could please divert your attention to row number 2 here that we have highlighted for you. So this prospect during discovery told us that sourcing takes an incredible amount of time, particularly for revenue generating employees, because they don't have any visibility into more than 700,000 records in their ATS alone. And for more technical roles, they can't find the people that are within the budget that they have set for that position. So they have to go hire somebody who is more senior and thereby increase their compensation budget guidelines. The business impact then in those specific challenges is that one, if you have a revenue generating role that is sitting vacant, that means missed revenue opportunity. And secondly, if you are having to hire somebody who is more senior, that means you're paying more than what you're supposed to from a compensation budget perspective, and that simply increases your payroll expense on your income statement. So how can Eightfold solve these challenges? Well, there are actually a number of different ways, but we have highlighted 2 of them here. The first one is the one that Ashish talked about as well, that end-to-end visibility into your entire talent network. So in this case, more than 700,000 records, this prospect would get complete visibility into that. And another way is by providing an instant ranked pipeline of the most qualified and relevant candidates for any particular job requisition, whether it's technical or not. So by being able to providing these capabilities, this is how the platform can solve these challenges in an example. So the way we solve these challenges is through our technology, which we highlight on the next slide for you. Eightfold essentially is one single platform that provides capabilities both for your talent acquisition and talent management needs. And on this slide, I have just summarized the end-to-end processes from a talent acquisition perspective. And if you look at every one of these boxes, they essentially are parts of the talent acquisition process. And prior to Eightfold, every one of these boxes would be a different color to signify the fact that there is a lot of fragmented and siloed processes currently in talent acquisition. And this is exactly where we have come in to completely revolutionize the industry. If you look at the pink boxes, these are our current capabilities. And if you look at the red boxes, these are our integration capabilities. And then the white boxes help us communicate the fact that we help our customers significantly reduce their reliance on third-party vendors, whether it's job boards, LinkedIn, or recruiting agencies, and these are typically very costly. So we also help our customers reduce their overall technology-related spend when it comes to talent acquisition. So net, about 80% of the workflows from a TA perspective would run on our platform. And this is exactly how we deliver the value. And I will just briefly show you a summary overview of what that looks like. So on the next slide, we have essentially provided with you a summary overview of the value that we quantified for the prospect that I mentioned in the prior slide. Madeline, could you please proceed to the next slide?
Sorry.
No problem. So as the next slide is, I'm sorry?
No, sorry, here we are. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, my screen is frozen, but that's okay. So essentially what we have summarized for you here is at a high level, the value that we quantified for this prospective customer. So on the left-hand side, you are going to see the value drivers. So number 3, faster time to productivity, and number 5, optimized compensation budget should be relevant here because that's the one we talked about earlier. And in the midsection, then we quantify, we communicate what that means from an income statement perspective. Is it going to be incremental revenue, or is it going to have a margin expansion potential? And finally, when we then quantify what that means, and in aggregate for this specific customer, this translated into $12.9 million of recurring annual value. So in our business cases, we definitely provide a line-by-line detail in terms of how we quantified what we quantified. But for the purpose of today, I will leave you with this summary overview, and I will remain on the line until the end of the webinar to take any questions you may have. Until then, thank you so much for your time and attention, and I will turn it back over to Ashish.
Great, thank you. And coming to the last page from our side, friends. So here is what, in summary, we would like you to remember Eightfold as a partner that understands skills and potential of an individual. So hiring for skills and capabilities is the forte of our advanced neural network powered AI. Eightfold has a global presence. It addresses complex HR problems and in fact, more than 15 different languages globally. We have Fortune 500 organizations from banking, insurance, mining, telecom, consulting, aviation, and other industries from across US, Europe, including Germany, Netherlands, Norway. Plus, we have got large business houses from South America, India, APAC, Korea, etc., who are our customers. And this is a testimony to the successful outcomes which are being delivered by the platform. So whether it is talent acquisition of external candidates, talent management, internal mobility, career planning, skilling, sourcing, etc., all this can be done in a few clicks while giving a world-class experience to hiring managers, candidates, and recruiters. The fact that marquee organizations like PwC, SAP, McKinsey have chosen to partner with us, it assures you that you are investing into the future with successful outcomes. So thank you so much for joining us. Back to you, Madeline and Alex.
Thanks a lot, Ashish, again, and also thanks, David, for this summary. I think also here we're really quite interesting information. And now I really hope that everybody got curious and wants to start the future right now. And here I would like to give the final words to our last speaker, so to Alex. And Alex is leading the HRIT team of PwC and supports our clients with the HR cloud solution since several years, or let's even say decades. So he also opened our webinars, so 5 weeks ago, and therefore I cannot think about someone better than he to also close our webinar. And therefore, Alex, welcome, first of all, to the session. And we now heard about AI can support me in tackling the current and future challenges, but also that this is a process which can't be achieved overnight. So Alex, can you tell us what could be a next step now after participating in our webinar?
Yes, thank you, Madeleine. So for sure, the webinar has been the first step in the journey, and I would like to give you an example of what we have learned as well from our successful clients. The first step should be the global strategy needs to map to business areas. That's the first you need to do. Secondly, the strategy of your business area needs to break down towards to the new to-be positions, to bring the new positions to life and your strategy to life. I give you an example for a better understanding. If you imagine if you are a bank and you're running an M&A project, for sure you have a global strategy. That means give your business the right direction from a global point of view. You break down the strategy towards to retail, private, corporate investment, or private banking. You do it as well from a global to a local. Otherwise, you will have a broken transformation, as Sebastian has shown. That the global point of view is here the most important one, but can be broken down to local. Thirdly, the main task is now that you map and match skills to the new to-be positions and map it to the current ones. Now you run the powerful calibration, as you have seen in our second webinar, supported for sure by AI and the machine learning of Eightfold, and then you run the report about the gaps from current to future positions. And now you are really able to make precise decisions and unlock the full potential of your strategy, supported by technology, and get rid of a massive manual created Excel sheets. So that's what we have really seen at clients running around massive Excel sheets. No one really understands. No one has really a proper version in the history, and it's mostly a mess. How to do that? Simply, based on the outcome of a report, you have seen in our webinars, you can either hire new employees, you can upskill your employees underpinned with learning, or for sure you can, as Sebastian mentioned, you can undertake other transition actions. And now you are really able to transform the business to the future positions as a result from your strategy. So it's really crystal clear that technology needs to go hand in hand with the strategy and the transformation. And to see here is really on the practical point of view that how you do that. So we map the strategy, as I explained. Sebastian explained transformation and certain use cases. Now, where we, together with Eightfold, can support you, for example, with pre-configured solutions. Hence, you get, based on a very good practice and on successful other projects, you get a solution which helps you. On the other hand, we are as well able to bring up a very, very tailored solution which supports such M&A actions. And then for sure we go in the interactive, in the iterative configuration and construct the business and the IT for your future setup. And then for sure we integrate, and then we go live in a very short time that you have the future now. And from my point of view, that's really the major tasks and which goes into an unparalleled relationship with Eightfold. So we can support you at the end-to-end with unparalleled relationship and experiences underpinned with industry knowledge and for sure with experiences from many, many other clients. So back to you, Madeleine.
Thanks a lot, Alex. So yeah, I think now also after your explanations of how to get started, I hope really everybody now wants to start the journey. And I also see that we're at the end of our session. We're a little bit over time, and also even we are at the end of the whole webinar series. And I just want to take the quick time to answer one question I see now in the chat, which is, will we get this deck, so the slide deck, after the call? And here, just for you, the information for everybody, you will receive another email from us, also getting the recordings and the slides from all the sessions you participated. So here you will get everything. And therefore, we're now really at the end. So first of all, thanks to our awesome speakers of our today's session and also of all the other sessions the weeks before. And secondly, for sure, thanks for your participation. So thank you so much for coming in, and thanks for your interest in the future of HR. For everybody who would like to get more insights about the future of HR, about Eightfold, or about relevant process transformations, we are really happy to get in contact with you, and then also to get in contact with you in person. So therefore, thanks a lot. Let's tackle the future together, and all the best for you, and we hope to see you soon to go to the next steps with you together. Thank you.